Most game jams require you to make only one game, and in the time period, it kind of makes sense. However, what if I try to make 4 games in a week? Today I'll be trying to make 4 games in 5 days. So you may ask, why am I doing this? This is a stupid idea. But what is game development without an arbitrary restriction? So I decided that the first game would be where you try to avoid touching a container of nuclear waste. Why did I choose nuclear waste? Well, why not? Anyway, so you keep moving towards this nuclear waste. The first roadblock I faced was moving the player towards the nuclear waste. At first I tried to subtract a position, and while this would have worked, it's just not efficient because you have to manage the x-axis and the y-axis. After a few visits to Stack Overflow, I realized Unity has a move towards function. So after implementing it, everything was working. So this is what the code looks like. So okay, when the player dies, I want there to be particles that are like an explosion. So the only problem I have with this is that I don't really know how to use Unity's particle system. This here is literally the most complex thing I've done with them, and it's literally just particles going up. So first I set the emission shape to a circle, and this was the result. Okay, maybe that's not enough. So now I increased the speed and rates of emission, and this was the result. This kind of was like an explosion. Not really. I then spawned in the particles when the player collides with the enemy, and this is the result. The game is practically finished, so all I need to do is add a menu, and that's game 1 finished. For the second game, I remember the mobile game that I used to play called Knife Hit, where you try to hit the board without hitting your own knives. So I decided to copy this game concept, build balloons for some reason. So first I used Unity's rotate function to spin the board around. So for the knife, I tried to make a sword-like thing in Photoshop, but I don't think this is a sword. So then I move the knife to the board when the player clicks. I then implemented the method of hitting the balloons, and then I turn the balloons into something when they get destroyed. So can you guess what the balloons turn into? That's right, it's a spike. Wait, why is it spike? I then made it so that you die if you touch a spike. Oh yeah, and the board spins faster as you destroy more balloons. If you destroy all of the balloons, you also win, so that's essentially the second game complete. So the third game is a pretty simple concept. I decided to make a game where you play as a basket and try to collect apples, but there's also bombs that are falling. And this game is very realistic, because similar to real life, if you touch a bomb, then you die. So the apples and the bombs spawn randomly. There are some positions where they don't spawn. They spawn in 4 out of the 5 positions. So for the movement, I used a simple A and D system with our horizontal and vertical axis Unity provides. So for the spawning, I literally just stole the code from a mobile game, Upward Bird, which you can download, by the way, it's in the description. For the score, I just added 1 to the score variable. Speaking of which, can we just agree that writing plus plus instead of plus equals just makes it feel more professional and low level? I don't know, I just prefer it when adding 1. Again, I added explosion particles. This time they're kind of realistic. And also, I'm starting to notice a pattern here. As always, I added an onCollision enter function to detect collision and compare the tags. And that's essentially the third game finished. So the fourth game is the favourite I made out of all of these. It's inspired by the popular game Fruit Ninja, kind of. No, not really though. So this is kind of a tower defense game as well, but again, not really. You have to stop enemies reaching the middle before the central area recharges. This game is also essentially an asset flip of the previous 3 games. They used all of these sprites. I set a knife object to follow the cursor and to activate when clicked. It can only slice stuff when it is activated. So a trail follows the cursor when the mouse button is held. It's my first time working with cursors, so I have literally no idea what I'm doing here. I made the apple sprite that I used in the previous game actually be 2 sprites in Photoshop, and these fall apart when sliced. I added a rigid body constraint to them. So the so-called tower in the center uses a slider, and the slider increases each second. When the slider reaches full value, you win, and if an apple touches the tower before the slider reaches, you lose the game. As for the name of the game, it is very original and definitely not taken from somewhere. So that's the final game complete. So these are the 4 games that I made in 5 days. To be fair, some of these games are actually relatively fun, and I'm surprised I actually managed to make this work. The links to all these games are in the description. This was a great challenge, and I recommend you to try the same if you're a game developer.